Hey, Slater Crusaders. So we are on a journey on this show we need to know our stories. First of all, we got to tell better stories. We have to tell better stories because the left is very good at telling stories. And we have better stories. We just need to do a better job of telling them. So the first story is how we got here. We need to know that, the negative things. And then we also need to know who we are. And I think a man who does that very well is Evan Sayet. He's got a new book called The Woke Supremacy, an Anti-Socialist Manifesto. Mr. Sayet, how are you, brother?
I'm doing given the hour, I'm doing extremely well.
Good, thanks for getting up for us. So, where to start? Where's the pivot point for you when it comes to socialism? Where did this really pick up steam in your book?
Right. Let me tell you the history of the woke very quickly, if I may. This is actually the coming to fruition of something that started in the 1960s. This is the plan the radicals, who are really god-awful human beings. I mean, they were terrorists like William Ayers. They at the very first gathering of the terrorist group, the Weather Underground, which took place in Flint, Michigan in 1969, they actually stopped and took a moment to applaud and cheer Charles Manson. I mean, this is the kind of mentality of the left. They were terrorists, they were kidnappers, they were murderers, they loved to kill cops, Angela Davis, and they sought to foment a socialist revolution. They didn't hide it. In fact, Bernadine Dorn even said, she approached a bank of microphones that were set up for her, and she said, "Hi, I'm Bernadine Dorn, and I'm going to read to you a declaration of war." And they sought to foment mostly a race war. They wanted to pit the races against each other, which is why the radicals joined the Democratic Party. Remember, when the radicals first arrived, they could have joined the party of women's suffrage and abolition and the 1957 Civil Rights Act. But instead, they joined the party of segregation, slavery, Jim Crow, and whatnot. Why? Because you join a party that's closest to what you seek to accomplish. And what they wanted to do is foment a racial revolution, a race war, revolution via race war. And they didn't care if it was George Wallace who had whites hating blacks, or if it was Malcolm X who had blacks hating whites, just so long as we hated each other. That revolution failed. Yes, sir.
I was saying, to what end for them, right? So I understand the seeding of the chaos, the sowing discord, which is the seventh thing that the Lord detests. But what do they want at the end of that?
Every revolutionary knows the first thing before you can have your revolution, bring about what it is you want, your quote unquote original purpose, you have to destroy the system that is. Which is why we're always struck by the alliances that the democratic socialists have with the Islamicists, for example. And if you look at socialists throughout time, socialism is only 100 years old. It's a little more than that in theory, but it only went from Marxist theory to real world application with the Russian Revolution almost exactly 100 years ago. And if you look, the major socialist movements all joined with the Islamicists, even though Islamicism is antithetical to what each of them seeks to create ultimately. All right, Hitler joined with the Mufti of Jerusalem, an Islamicist, even though his ultimate goal was a world without Semites. Right? Arabs are Semites. The Soviets were the biggest benefactors of the Islamicist movement during the Cold War. Even though religion is something that socialism despises, they sided with the religious fanatics during the Cold War. And if you look at the Democratic Party today, even though they claim to want equal rights for women and gays, they ally themselves with people who throw gays off of buildings and who subjugate women.
Wow. That was deep and insightful. I want more of that. Like, subscribe, get more.